Hello, everyone. Today we are meeting with, I'm Lindsie and we're meeting with Sarah Ashford, our first ambassador of the year for 2024. And we're going to talk all things Quilters Planner, all things sewing, the sew along, and a little bit about ourselves. And it's going to be awesome. So here we go. First of all, Sarah, will you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started quilting.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Sarah Ashford and I live in the UK, as you can probably tell from my accent. I've been sewing since I was a little girl. I've been quilting since my daughter was born, which is 15 years ago now.
Wow.
So I've really spent a lot of that time really focusing on learning everything I can about patchwork and quilting because I just absolutely love it. And I'm here in my studio, as you can see, and surrounded by fabric and my quilting books and all the things to do with sewing. I've made a bit of a career of it. So I've written 2 books. I've got 4 Aurifil thread collections. I do a lot of writing as well, blog posts and things. I've written a lot in the past for the Quilters Planner. I've written for lots of magazines and different publications over the years. So I'm a modern quilter through.
Great. What do you think is your favorite style of patchwork or quilting that you like choose to work on when you can work on something for yourself?
Oh gosh, I just love all aspects of it. So I love machine quilting. I love like foundation paper piecing. So I sometimes design my own blocks, design my own quilts and quilt patterns. I love the modern aesthetic. I love text prints, novelty prints. I love a bit of everything really. I like English paper piecing. I like a bit of embroidery. Walking foot quilting is something I teach a lot as well. I've started exploring Japanese sashiko and borrow stitching, which is all done by hand. So that's very, very different to using the sewing machine. So it's really nice to have that contrast between the sort of fast production of being on the sewing machine to sort of sitting down and doing some mindful stitching by hand. So yeah, I love it all, but there's always so much to learn. So I'm always looking to learn new skills and new techniques and styles from different cultures as well.
Yeah. Do you find yourself starting a lot of projects and then having a lot to put on your projects at a glance page in your planner, or do you like finish before you move on to new stuff?
I am guilty of that. I think
we all
it's fair to say most quilters are, they see the next new shiny thing and just can't help getting involved. So I'm trying to resist, but it's the start of the new year and I've come up with this idea for a project that's 365 days where you do a little bit each day.
Awesome.
So I wasn't going to go ahead with it, but I thought it's such a cool idea that I have that I'll be sharing soon. I just thought, well, why not? Let's just go for it. And I do plan to tackle some of my works in progress this year and get them finished as well. But yeah, I think a lot of quilters are guilty of that, having lots of projects on the go. But it keeps things exciting because, you can just pick them up, put them down and work on them as you feel like. And it's always extra satisfying when you get something finished.
Right. And besides, I really like rewriting my list every January in my planner of like, okay, what's my current list at? Where am I at? How do I want to prioritize them? Yeah, I'm working on that now. And it's kind of fun to go and dig them out and be like, oh, did I make any progress on this one this year or last year?
Yeah. And then checking things off when you have made progress, that's always really satisfying as well.
Awesome. Well, I'll share a little bit about kind of how I started in quilting and then kind of lead into how we ended up here together on the Quilters Planner. I grew up sewing clothing. Not a whole ton when I was little, but my grandmother taught me how to sew, and she was a big quilter. So of course I was the one like hiding under and playing under her big quilting frames when she had all the family over and they were hand tying quilts. She was a very prolific quilter of all sorts of styles. And I really kind of developed a love for hand quilting in addition to patchwork, as well as making quilts for other people from her. For her funeral, we invited everybody who attended to bring a quilt if they had one made by her, and we lined the benches of the entire room
Oh.
in quilts that were made by her, and it was so touching. And many of them I had recognized, and many I didn't know that she had done. Like one, she had cross-stitched a design on every block and then put it all together. And anyway, so yeah, so she did embroidery, and I really find myself doing the same. I love doing hand stitching embroidery. I haven't attempted any tea towels yet, but I will be doing that soon. But I
Do
do
you
love
use a frame when you quilt,
um
or a hook?
when I embroider, I don't tend to use a hoop. I know that's probably like against the embroidery rules. I don't really know. But I find that it's easier for me to take it on the go. I'm a big like stitch in the car type of person because my husband drives anywhere we go, and I sit and stitch when I can. And I tend to just hold it and stitch. So yeah. Oh, sorry, dropped my planner. So yeah, when I hand quilt, it's the same way. I tend to just hold it in my other hand and stitch along. So but that's not to say like I don't have my own hand designed PVC half-inch pipe quilt frame that I've made that I pull out, and like I've made it lap size so that I can work in that way, but I need to do more of it for sure. But I really didn't do a lot of quilting until after I had first gotten married and was making a quilt to take to a Mountain Men rendezvous, actually, with my husband. He grew up going to Mountain Men rendezvous, and I had the thought, well, what if I made a very traditional Civil War style, like old looking quilt and took it to the trading blanket and see what I could get for it, right? Because they have this thing where you come with your handmade goods and you trade and you see what other people want to trade. And it's like similar to what they did back in that era. And it's a lot of fun, but I found that when I got done with the quilt, I didn't want to give it away. But I also like love the process so much, and making just a very simple like log cabin courthouse step block repeated. But I also realized that I loved modern fabrics, and picking like very traditional prints was a little hard for me to mix enough to make it look good. Anyway, so then I really discovered modern quilting, and I found that modern quilt guild chapter had just been started in my town, and I was so excited. So I went and joined them within their first year, and I've been attending ever since. And I think that we just hit like year 12 this year. So it's been a lot of fun. And I was president for a couple years in the guild, secretary for a couple years, and now I'm happily just advising as needed. And my the team there are doing such a great job, and I love being able to just set aside one Saturday a month for myself to go and attend. But anyway, so I definitely find myself doing more digital quilting for my career and my clients and this business than I wish I probably could do on my own. But one of my goals for this year is definitely to make more time for physical quilting and sewing.
I
And
think
work
that's
on my
really
project.
important, isn't it? To make sure that we don't lose sight of the thing that we love most. And
Yeah.
it can be really easy to do all of the peripheral things around quilting and not actually be doing the quilting itself and the patchwork. And that's what we love the most. That's how we started, and that's where our passion lies. So
Yeah.
it's really important, I think, to remind ourselves of that and make do the things that bring us joy.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of that is, I think, just finding things that you like to do, and making a little time every day. And I was so happy to hear that you said that you found a year-long project to work on, which is so awesome. And really, I think, as part of, there's so many people doing that, from temperature quilts to mood quilts, to all sorts of things. I know that when I attended QuiltCon a couple years back when it was in Phoenix, they had that whole section of the show dedicated to temperature quilts, and you could see all the different ways that people tracked throughout the year, like a whole year of changes in the weather. And there was one quilt that like showed visually the changes in the high temperature recorded history of the world, and they use a different color
Wow.
thread. I'll have to look up the name of that quilt, but there's just so many different ways to show things over time. And I think that was a big impetus, I think, why we decided to add the 365 tracker page to the planner this year. Anyway, so just to backtrack a little bit, I met Stephanie Palmer back when she was looking at starting the Quilter's planner, and was really the first person on her team when she came up with the idea for that, and have been designing the planner every year with her, and then with Lorinda when she took over. And then when Lorinda decided that she wanted to pass it on, I knew I couldn't, live my life without the planner. And I knew there were a lot of people who wanted it as well. So here we are. That's why I'm trying to keep it alive as best as I can. And I know there's been a lot of changes, and we're here to kind of talk through them. I have mine. Sarah, you have yours.
I do, yes. I've got mine.
Yes. Yeah, very exciting. So yes, mine, I have one of our covers on it. This is my absolute favorite cover. It was it was one of the designs that we came up with a couple years ago when we created our pocket notes, the intersecting circles in aqua. Anyway, so yeah, should we flip through our book a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the changes and what we like?
Sure.
In particular. So yeah, so the normal cover is our sampler, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Sarah, will you point out how your hardback is a little bit different? Because that is another new thing from this year, is that we have 3 binding options plus a digital PDF option. So
yeah,
coil bound in black foil is one. And then
I've opted for my personal use to go with the hard cover option, and I really like that. It's got this hard, durable cover on it, and it's nice and thin as well, so I can put it in my handbag, in my purse, and it's not taking up too much room, and it's not too heavy, not too bulky either. So I'm really, really pleased with this option.
Now tell me, as a tactile person, how do you like the feel of the paper on the cover?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really nice.
I was really happy with how buttery smooth it feels with the matte finish on that. On the one
it's really nice.
Awesome.
Really nice.
Okay, great. And then do you have an example of the paperback you could show people?
Oh, yes, I do. So I have the paperback here.
Great. So the paperback is a little bit more,
it's kind of bendy,
lighter weight.
Yeah.
So this is the option that not only is the most affordable option, but is also the option that we are recommending people to get if they want to do it in a binder. So like our unbound version that we used to sell. So because we're using a printer that prints in the country that you live in, that means that the book has to be offered in formats that each of the printer's facilities are able to fulfill. So that's why we have fairly straightforward coil bound, hard bound, and paperback options. Unfortunately, they don't offer an option that's not bound, period. Like you have to choose one binding. So what you then would do is take that paperback option over to your local copy shop, and then they can use their big guillotine cutter and just slice off a minimal part of the binding. And then you can choose if you want to 3-ring punch it for your own binder, or you can choose one of our smaller 8x10 size custom binders we have in our shop, or see if your printer has a way to cut the 3-hole punch for you as well. And then if you're a disc bound planner system user, you can use this option then to cut your own disc bound holes to provide flexibility for that as well. So yeah. sorry. Okay. All right, so going through the planner, we do have a new couple intro pages. And I'm so happy to say that Sarah was a big part of some of the new content we have here at the beginning. She had some awesome ideas of things to add. Do you want to kind of share some of the reasons why you suggested these ideas and how you think they're going to be fun to use?
Yeah, definitely. So just going to the first page, the special dates page, that's quite handy, isn't it, to write down people's birthdays. I've already started putting birthdays and key dates in, so you can just look at it and quickly see, oh, whose birthday is it this month? And never forget a birthday. So that's really useful. And then we've got the vision board and yearly goal planning that we've had in the past. But some of the new pages, we had lots of chats about this, is the my favorite things page. And I really like that. And I've been using it already because already, you know, I always chat to friends about books they're reading and TV shows they're watching, and they're like, oh, you must watch this, and then you don't write it down and you just forget. And now I've already started writing it in my planner, so I'm really excited about that. And you know, you're on Instagram scrolling through and you think, oh, that podcast, I must listen to that as well, you know. So now I can write it all down and then sort of tick it off
and
when I've done it.
I am so glad that we added this as well, because I can't tell you how many times someone has said, hey, you got to go check out this shop. You need to go, you know, don't forget to go learn Sashiko, right? Like so many different of these categories of things not to forget. And I'm sorry, but like, I can't remember every little detail anymore. Like after 2 kids, I'm, you know, like I'm just like a week out, I think at times. So I love being able to just write it down and say, okay, when I have time to come back, I'm going to remember to, you know, go get this thing, or go listen to this music. So yeah, I'm very excited to use that page.
And then the other page, that I really like is the bucket list page. So I've got Climb Snowdon on mine. So Mount Snowdon is a mountain in Wales, and it's one I really want to climb. So that's top of my bucket list. I haven't got any further yet, but I will do. And then the creative challenge list, that's good fun as well. So that's got some ideas for things that you might want to challenge yourself to do. So it's got things like have no sugar all day. That's going to be quite hard. Take a road trip, take a cold shower, wake up early and watch the sunrise, read a new book, have a picnic. So there's some really nice ideas in there. So I think that page is fun.
And I mean, I know it might seem a little frivolous maybe, but I feel like you have to really think about taking time to like stop and enjoy life. And if this is what gets, you know, me and others prompted to like, oh yeah, that's kind of fun, then to me that's worth it. So definitely. And it's like a fun thing to look back at the end of the year to see like when you did those things, or if maybe that prompted like a journal entry or a photo with your family. Like anyway, fun memories.
Yeah, I think so. It's great.
Great. So then we have all of the start of our calendar. And what we've done is we tried very hard and we'll talk about this when we get to the quilt itself, but we really tried hard to arrange the planner to match the photos used for each chapter with the block that we're going to be sewing that month as part of the sew long. So when you flip through each month of the calendar, you'll notice the photo, like when you look at February, that's the month that we're going to sew the birds. And when you look at the next flip to March, you'll see, you know, oh goodness, Vicky designed Issa Point, beautiful block, and that's what we're going to sew in March. So
and it's really nice because organized. We've got the credits here, haven't we, of who designed the block and where it was photographed. And obviously Kitty did the beautiful photography as well, and that's credited there. So.
Yeah, And I will point out, so with the covers that we offer in our shop, for those who are coil bound, we also are offering an option that has a wide blank margin if you want to add them into your 3-ring binder as well, to have a little bit of an extra page to hold your book open or closed. But the dividers also fit into there, and they clip right in and out. And so, for example, I have my first one, finished is better than perfect, slipped right into the January spot. And like all of our clip-in products, you just run your thumb along the side and it will pop right back in. So, yeah, that's how we have divider options. Because I know the dividers are a big deal. To be honest, that was one of the biggest things that switching to a new printer, not being able to offer that as part of the book. And I know from the comments I've gotten back from customers that not having those as part of the book is also a big deal. So I totally acknowledge that. And we are trying our best to offer options that will allow those who do want to have the dividers a way to do that. So option 1 is the clip-in set of 5 that will still accommodate, the coil will still accommodate those 5 and a set of covers in your book. And then you can move those dividers around throughout the year into different places. The other option is our set of stick-on tabs that you can use really with any of the bound versions of the book as well. So those are really heavyweight, waterproof sticker labels that you can stick onto the side of the page for each chapter, and they're color coded to match the edge of the page that they're going to be stuck on as well. So anyway, we'll have some more photos of how that is going to work coming up. But okay, enough about the dividers. Let's talk a little bit about the calendar pages themselves, because we have made some changes on those too.
So you can customize the layout, can't you, of your planner, which is a really great option to have. So this one, I've gone for the vertical option, and it's got the hours of the day on it. So this one is quite heavily kind of guided, if you like, which is what I like. But then there's different options if you don't want that much structure. So there's the this is the this is the vertical, and then we've got the horizontal and the dot
grid.
The dot grid, yeah, as well. And then the other choice is the start date.
Yep, I'm a Sunday weekly start person, and Sarah's a Monday.
And I'm a Monday.
It's so funny how, you know, when we first started the planner and we started it on a Sunday, and I think one year we might have switched it to a Monday, but we honestly had so many requests for both that we did a poll that year, and it was like half and half of people wanted both. And so that next year was the next year we started offering the variations and offering the different layouts and choosing Sunday start or Monday start, because it really is a big preference that changes around the world. So yeah, I'm glad that we can offer that as an option, because it's a big deal. Okay, so I do want to mention that if you do decide to go with a more guided approach, the vertical layout has, backed by popular demand that we found from our survey that we did last summer, we've added the habit tracker back into the column. Now, do you use the habit tracker a lot, Sarah?
I have. I've started using it this year, actually.
What have you found? I'm interested to hear what have you found that you are tracking on your habit tracker from week to week?
So I'm using it to track my fitness. So I'm trying to do 150 sit-ups a day. So that's one thing I'm tracking. And I'm tracking whether I go to the gym or not. So I'll color in a circle if I do those things, and then I'll put a cross if I don't do them. So so far I've started well, but we're only on day 4. So
yeah, I'm still considering what I want to do. I know I need to be better about taking my supplements and drinking my water. So I'm
drinking the water is a good one.
But I think I might also have one for like getting the kids to the park and see if I can make that a more consistent thing. And maybe do I make 5 minutes for myself, 10 minutes for myself in the morning to do something creative? So anyway,
And that's the
yeah,
beauty of the habit tracker. You can customize it to suit, you know,
yeah,
what you're trying to achieve, can't you? So that's the good
exactly.
thing about it.
Yeah. And for those who are wanting to do the less guided approach that doesn't have the habit tracker, so the horizontal option or the dot grid, which I mean, the dot grid is great because you can really customize anything you want on that page and kind of build your own habit tracker. But I have redesigned our clip and bookmarks, and one of our clip and bookmarks has the habit tracker on it. Oh, there's the dot grid.
There
Totally
are
open.
dots. They are faint, but they are there.
Right. Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. So you've got more gain with that one.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And some people love that, you know, they don't like to
Yeah.
be too rigid.
Yeah, exactly. So the redesigned bookmarks, which I'm gonna make both clip-in version and straight edge so that you could use it with a hardcover book if you wanted, is one side has to-do lists for quilting and personal, and the other side has a to-do list for home, just like the bottom of our vertical page has these. But then it has the habit tracker at the bottom on the second slide. So if that's something that you still want in your life, but you still want the horizontal planner, those will be up in our shop as well. And then I am also redesigning and will offer our shopping list meal planner bookmark as well. So anyway, some fun new products to come this year. And I'm hoping I can also come up with a new bookmark ruler like we used to offer. So some exciting things coming for that. Okay, so after the calendar section, we have patterns. Let's skip the pattern section. Then we'll come back to it when we talk about the sew along. Let's talk a little bit about the project section and the reference section. So, to be honest, the project section is my favorite. I do follow sew along patterns like or block of the months type patterns, but for like normal patterns, if I'm working on a quilt, I really love to kind of map it out and come up with my own plan of how I'm going to make it to like specific size or for a specific person. So I really have enjoyed using the project planning page. I use it all the time when I'm working on a new project. So yeah, in this section, based on our survey results as well, we've added more of the projects at a glance pages. And we've also added a bit more of the project planning pages. So there's plenty of space there to do those as well.
And that's where you've got the, like say, we were talking earlier about the works in progress with where you can list everything that you're working on, and then you can check off. It's got the list of all of the different stages of making a quilt specifically, and you can check them off as you go, and then put your completion date as well.
Yeah,
so that's really useful.
And the one change that we did make to this year is we had the wonderful suggestions from many of our customers to add labeled to the end, which is, I mean, how did we forget that? That's like the most important part of tracking the history of your quilt. So yeah, I was happy that we could add that section in as well. So, okay.
Definitely.
Great. So the reference section, now on the other hand, I feel like we put in so many hours as a team to really go through this very carefully and add a few more resources for people. So in the past, we used to have the My Sewing Machines page and the My Sewing Tools inventory. That was at the very beginning of the planner, but since it was technically sewing related, quilting related, we made the call to move it back into the quilting section or into the reference section. So that starts off that part of the chapter. Are there any parts of this spread that you really love, Sarah?
Yes, there are. So I really love the block library. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I meant on the sewing machine. Sewing machines in the inventory page.
Let me just find it.
When I was using mine last year, I found myself always going back to the dates that I oiled and cleaned my machine because I kept forgetting like when I was last maintaining my machine. It was really sad. So
Yeah,
it was
that's
so
a really
great to
good
have a
idea.
place to write that down.
Yeah.
And then I need to go back and look what my service history was from last year because I don't really do them more than once a year. But
And I
it's good
think
to
that's
check it out.
important because time just ticks on and you forget when you've had your machine serviced and a year's up before you know it, and then you need to get it done again.
Yeah,
Particularly if you're stitching a lot, you know, you do need to give it a good service once a year, if not more often,
exactly.
depending on how much you sew. So yeah, it's always good to write down these things. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, so we have gone through, made a couple little small edits and clarifications to the fabric breakdown page, the cutting estimator, the piecing methods. We have added some piecing methods this year, not only to support the block patterns in the pattern section, but also to round it out and add some more techniques. So we have added snowball, which is actually used quite a lot in the sew along quilt. We've added half rectangle triangles, which are a new thing to me. I am very excited to sew along with everyone this year and increase my proficiency at those. And a little bit more with the quarter circle as well. And we've added all of the templates that are needed for the sizes of circles needed to be made for the blocks. You can certainly use a ruler to cut these quarter circles. There's a lot of different rulers out there as options, but we wanted to include the templates here so you could trace them out onto your template material for those. Okay, now to the exciting part, the block library.
Yeah, I love this page. It's just
It's
so
so fun.
colorful and vibrant. I think that would make a lovely quilt in itself,
Yeah.
just like that. It's gorgeous.
Right. So here's the funny background about this page. When we very first started the Quilters Planner, there was Stephanie was involved with a block design challenge that she invited all of the people who participated in it to let us run the design of their block in the planner. And we actually ran a completely different block every single week of the year. We had 53 blocks in the first year of the
Wow.
planner. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And the blocks ended up being all made from the same set of colors. And I think they made like 3 quilts that they ended up donating to a nonprofit, which is fantastic. And then each of those block designers, we shared a little bit of information about them on every week. So in that same spirit, in the following years, we did additional blocks. Anyway, one of the subsequent years from that, we decided to come up with illustrations for and related tutorial blog posts for each of the blocks that are really well known to people. So we alternated between showing a quilting design and a traditional block, or one of a common block in the weekly pages of the planner. So we already had this as a resource on our website, and not a lot of people knew about it. I mean, I knew about it because I colored them up and designed, made the illustrations and we put up the blog post, but like a lot of people weren't aware that that was still part of one of the resources that we offered. So I was like, why are we not sharing this in the planner? So I just gathered all of our blocks up. We recolored them a bit to be in line with our Quilters Planner rainbow and have included them on this page. And the fantastic part is that each of these blocks, you can find a full tutorial on how to make them on our website. So
Brilliant.
yeah, pretty fun.
Really
So there you
cool.
go. Essentially, like you've got, I don't even know, 50, not 50, 20, however many of these are.
27.
27 free quilt quilt patterns on the website that you can follow and make a whole quilt of each one, or one with one of each of them. So anyway, okay, so in the rest of the reference section, we've got the yardage planner, Now, I will tell you, this is my absolute favorite page in the entire planner, because I am always trying to figure out like efficient cutting when I'm working on a project. And I used this heavily when I was mapping out the background sashing requirements for our sew along quilt. And I was like, oh gosh, I need to make some changes to this graphic so it to work better. So I added 1/2 inch marks. I added, you know, a little bit like the counting, I didn't restart it in the second yard because I want to be able to count up to specific inches. So anyway, it's new and improved. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. And then I think we have, oh, our color.
We missed out the project trackers with the challenges.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. That was at the end of the projects chapter.
Yes.
Oh, I totally forgot.
I just
Okay.
want to talk about
Back,
this a little
rewind.
bit because it's one of my favorite pages.
And a new edition. Yes.
Yes.
This whole spread. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Tell us all about it.
Yeah. So a couple of these pages. So this page focuses on like 100-day projects. So that's quite a big deal in quilting, isn't it? If you don't want to commit to the like one thing a day, then the 100-day project is a really good option. It's, you know, it makes it a bit more achievable. And the nice thing about this page is you can use it to track, and you can color it in. So you've got like a hexagon one here, and there's like a pebble dash one here, and then this is like a, hold it up a bit more, like a grid one here. And then there's project trackers on this page as well. Yeah, and then this one is for the whole year.
So the top one, the monthly project trackers, was my thought behind that was, say you're involved in a couple block of the months. Like I know our local quilt shop, they're always running a handful of block of the month where they have either a class or you just come pick up your supplies for each month. So if you're involved in that and you're wanting to track your progress each month, you can use this to write down the pattern name, the fabrics you're using, what your goal is for it, and then track whether you've completed it that month. I could also totally see this being used as your own way to habit track something you want to do throughout the year that maybe you only do once a month. Like maybe you say, okay, I'm going to make my own block and I'm going to make 12 of them. And this helps you track that every month you've made some sort of progress, or maybe you're working on one of your whips every month. You can use that section to track this as well. Separate from really perhaps, this could be separate from either your main projects at a glance page or separate from one of, you know, the 100-day project. So just giving another resource to track things, which we're all about.
These are time specific, aren't they? That's the difference between that and the projects at a glance. This is to be done by a certain time. So I think it's really useful. Yeah.
So, and talk to us a little bit about the yearly tracker and how you think you might use that for the project that you've started.
Yeah, so I will put in the details. So I'll just hold it up again, put in the details here of what my project is. And then I will be able to, I'll probably sort of check it off or color it in as I go. Because this is for the whole year. Yeah. Which is what I'm planning to do.
Right. And for those of you that might be using this for a temperature quilt or any other sort of tracking purposes, I have to think very much into what Kitty does with her Quilt Your Life crew, where you decide you're going to track something and then you write it down. Like every day you get, you know, so many XYZ actions done. You can track that down. And so we left a spot for you to write your own symbol, whether it's a color or some sort of indication that you decided yourself and what it means. And then every day of the year, you can write down, like, I felt this way, and you have a symbol for it, or you have a certain color code for that. And really trying to leave it open-ended for you to use it however it works for you, so that you can track it and then take that data and turn that in either into a quilt, or maybe you're going to make a quilt based solely off of how it looks like when your tracking is done, or you sew along with it throughout the year. There's so many ways to go about it. So I'm sure we'll come
And
up with some
actually, that's
more.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to have different symbols for the different things I'm tracking
Yeah,
on my project. It's
great.
actually an embroidery project that is also going to be sort of sewn, so I can do
Cool.
that on this page as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool.
That's great. Okay, I'm so glad that we rewound to catch those.
Sorry,
I
yes, we
totally
jumped
missed
back,
those.
didn't we? Back to the reference
No, it's
section.
okay. I'm glad we didn't forget that. Okay, so then we're gonna end off with our uh loved and oft used color theory page, which we're all about. And our binding basics page, which I think we added new last year, or the year before. And then we have a couple lined pages for notes at the end. So there you go. I also want to point out, as a book nerd myself, I had to add a colophone. You don't know what a colophone is, go look it up. But basically it's a break.
But I do now.
Yeah, you do now. It's just a chance for the designer or the publisher of the book to list who contributed to the book and what type the book is set in and where it's printed. So anyway, if you're nerdy and you like stuff like that, that's where you can find that. And then a little bit of information about copyright terms for the book and what our policies are for that. So there's the planner. All right, let's flip back to the pattern section and we can talk about our beautiful quilt. Oh, so excited about this. Of all of the sections of the planner, this is the one that took the most time and effort and sweat and tears from everybody on our team. We put a lot of work and love into it, and we really hope that all of you are going to really be delighted if you choose to sew along with us this year. So we came up with the name A Quilter's Compass based on the concept of the quilt, which Kitty came up with, our photographer. I'm so excited to chat with her here on our monthly video podcast. I don't know what we're going to call this. Our monthly chat with our ambassadors. I'm considering I might bring her on earlier than December, but she is our scheduled person for December because December is the month that we're going to put it all together. But she came up with the overall design of having it be a big compass. So you can see it in the back. Ta-da! I have it hanging up here as my background, and I will just kind of point. We have January's block here in the center, which we'll talk about in a second. And then starting up, oh my goodness, I can't even remember now. Headwind for February. This one.
Other way, that's it.
Yes, there you go. There's February. So February, we're gonna make that one.
Two of them.
And that one, right? 2 in 1 month, but in different colorways. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and then December, we're gonna all put it together. So Kitty's had that original concept. We love it. And it really drove the overall design of having a central radiating block and then all of the blocks pointing outwards from that. And it really is a beautiful compass. And I'm really happy. So we decided on our ambassadors, invited them to participate with us and to design a block. And they've all come up with such creative, lovely blocks. I just love it. Do you have any thoughts? I remember back to when they started submitting their designs and I just was flabbergasted every time we got another one in, and yeah. Really
yeah, no, I think it's fantastic how they all go so well together and how the color gradation sort of really ties them in, and how you've got a lovely range of techniques in there. I know there's some foundation piecing, there's a bit of curve piecing. We've got the I think there's some half square rectangles in there. I know that's a skill in the planner in the reference section.
We've got them here in the bird.
Yes, that's it. I knew they were in there somewhere. And
we've got a
from
bunch of snowballs.
Yeah,
there.
lovely. And it's just fantastic how the block designs have come from designers from all around the world, and they just work together. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the first block. Now, the first block was designed by our tech editor, Yvonne, which we're all very familiar with. She's been working on our team for a long time, and she's also runs a very successful quilting empire. I don't know how you would say it, but she's a quilting jet girl, and she came up with the design for this one, and it's so lovely. So as a team, we worked together to sew it up. And Sarah, you tested it, and she designed it. And yeah, so I have a whole set of blocks here of the whole quilt that we used when we photographed it, when Kitty photographed it. I'm not going to take credit for those because they're so beautiful. And we have obviously the set that I sewed all together in our final sample quilt. So I can show you, like in real life, how big this is. It's awesome. It's like, could be a quilt, a little mini hanging all by itself. I mean, when I first saw the photos of it, I'm like, that's not that big, but it's large. So let me hold it up here. It's like, I can't even show the whole thing.
Yeah, it is big.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's impressive.
So tell me, when you were doing your version of it, testing the block, what are some things that you ran across with it or that you were impressed by? Because just holding it myself, I'm like, this can be a table topper. This could be a baby, a baby quilt, like mat for babies to play on. Like, it's big
definitely
enough. You could add some borders
or
to
if
this,
you wanted it just to be, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
If you wanted it just to be a little bit bigger, you could just put a couple of borders on it, and it would be perfect as a play mat or a baby quilt. And it came together surprisingly quickly. I think that's what I found about it, because your chain piecing, the bit that took the longest was actually the cutting out. So I did all of my cutting out first. And a top tip I would say is to label all of your pieces, because there's lots of white pieces of different shapes and sizes. The colored bits are easier to figure out which one goes where, but with the white bits you have to be careful. So I just used a little piece of paper and a pin, and then pinned all of my A bits together, and B and C and so forth, so that I could keep track of the background fabric in particular. And when it came to pressing, make sure that you press to the dark side, because you don't want those colored fabrics shining through that white background as well.
And I think that's going to be key probably throughout this whole year, is making sure that you're paying attention to the pressing. And we did try to put kind of arrow directions where we felt they were needed in the illustrations. But yeah, I definitely feel that it comes together so great. So I'm sorry, as a quick backup, the very first page of the pattern section includes an overview of the whole pattern itself, and gives fabric requirements for the whole quilt. So even if you just decide to do one of the quilts or whatever, you can see what sizes of cut pieces are needed on the block plan itself. But for the whole quilt, we have it listed. Now, the good news is that there are kits available. So far we have been working with Sewfinity. My good friend Angela Bowman, she runs the Sewfinity shop that's actually local to us here. And she was a big partner with us last year to offer kits for last year's planner sew along quilt. She's going to do the same this year. So she will ship to all US customers. And then we're also in talks with some other shops around the world to find other shops that would also want to kit this as well. But essentially, it's a fat quarter. Some of them have two per all of the colors that we use, and they're all Kona colors, and then white for the background. Though I can imagine this would be quite stunning in a dark black or a dark gray or a black or any other color you may choose as well. But so yeah, the fabric requirements are there, abbreviations, notes, a little bit about the Sew Long contest itself, but and then what month we're going to do which block. Okay, just wanted to mention that. Now the block plan itself does have tips on choosing colors and how to get started. And we're doing a little bit different this year, which I wanted to kind of talk a little bit. Normally we have a very extensive instructions, like we're going to cut this, then we're going to sew this, we're going to cut this, we're going to sew this, and you end up, you know, doing one for every month. We wanted to be a little bit more effective and efficient in the use of our space. So we have decided instead to do a more simple, straightforward version of the cutting and assembly for each block, and then utilize our awesome reference section for the step-by-step instructions. So what you'll see in each quilt block is the cut size and what colors you need to cut of that size, and then what you need to make for that particular one. So for example, you're going to cut all of these different colors of 3.5 by 6.5 in order to make the flying geese that you need for this block. And then anytime that there's bolded words, that indicates that there's instructions for that method in the reference section. So we turn to the reference section, go to the flying geese, and follow those steps in order to make the different flying geese that you need. So then you go to the snowball section, and then the rest of the section talks about how to assemble the block in the order indicated by the breakout illustration. So I'm hoping that it's going to be a method of instructions that will work for a variety of skill levels. So those who are really experienced, they can just follow the cut list. They know what to do to make these things. Those who are more on the beginner end, they still have everything that you will need to flip to the reference section, follow the steps, and come up with what all the pieces that you need to make. So that was kind of our thought behind that change, plus a whole bunch of tips as well. So
and I really love that tip at the beginning here of fussy cutting the center, because you've got that big square in the middle, and I can just imagine something like one of Tula Pink's motifs in the middle, you know, an animal, a raccoon or a lion or something. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, and the example we have here shows one of Alison Glass's colorful centers. So there's so many fun prints that I know that we all put in our stash that haven't used in a while that is going to be helpful, or something that we're going to want to use there. So anyway, the other page here, we talk a little bit about submitting the blocks for the contest. So let's talk a little bit about that. Again, we are taking a different tack this year for the contest itself. Part of the reason we're doing that is because of the changes that social media has made for tracking hashtags. So in the past, we've asked everybody who wants to submit an entry into our contest to post it either on Facebook or Twitter with our decided hashtag. And then we would be able to go look at the hashtag page on each platform and, you know, make a random pick for our winner. Unfortunately, that's not how hashtags work anymore, and we won't be able to see everybody who's posted for the hashtag. So we've come up with a different option. Instead, what we have is a form that you can fill out on our website. I just got it posted over to the homepage yesterday, so it's at the top of forcreatives.pub. There's a 2024 quilt along or sew along link at the top, and it outlines all of the rules and guidelines for our sew along with a link to the submission button to submit your entry. So, Sarah, will you tell us a little bit about how the submission photo is going to be different this year?
Yes, so we're asking people to think creatively about the photograph that they take, because everybody is essentially going to be making the same block, potentially in the same fabrics as well. So we could have lots of images that are of the same quilt block.
Right.
So we're just asking people to get a little bit creative with the photography and the styling of their photos to try and capture your attention, because you're going to be choosing your favorites to win the prize.
Mhm.
So I think that that's quite fun. And we've got the theme is finding your direction. And we're asking you to think about what was your biggest win for the month, what direction do you want to go in next month, and putting a little caption, so captioning your photograph and then just putting a little bit underneath, sort of relating to that finding your direction theme. And that's
Yeah.
all detailed in the planner, so you'll be able to refer to that each month and make sure that you post a winning entry.
Yeah. I really like this approach because I feel like it dovetails so well within our mission of finding ways to be creative and use your planner to improve your life, or at least find more creativity in your life. And being able to have those moments of self-reflection, I think, are a big part of that. And we're asking people to, when you're submitting your photo, just think a little bit about where you're at, and if you're headed in the direction that you want to be and what you might want to change. And it can be a great starting point for thinking about that and tracking that. So yeah, anyway, then I'm have been voted as the lucky one to be the one to decide all of this. It certainly wasn't my idea, but I'm excited to see what everybody submits each month. And somehow I'm going to pick, I don't know, I know they're all going to be really fabulous. It will be very hard. So anyway, I'll reach out to my team to help me if I need to, but yeah, I'm excited. So every month we're going to pick a winner and post that at the beginning of the following month. And we've got some awesome sponsors this year and some awesome prizes in store. I'm still nailing down exactly what's going to be January's prize, so I will have that posted shortly, but it will be from one of our awesome sponsors that we have listed here. So Sarah, would you mind just giving them a quick shout out to each of the ones of our sponsors?
Yep, so we've got Orifil, Hobbs Bonded Fibers, Ulfa, Rotary Cutters and Mats, Sofinity, Fish Museum and Circus, Morris Textiles, and Oliso.
Yeah.
So yeah, some great prizes there.
Some new ones, some ones that have been with sponsors with us for a really long time, and I'm excited to highlight our awesome sponsors and give them some love too. So okay. All right. So in our upcoming episodes, I don't know what we're going to call this, but in our upcoming episodes, we are going to talk with each of our designers of the remaining blocks. So next month, Brooke's going to join me here, and we're going to meet her and get to know her a little bit, and talk about Headwind and February's block, and continue every month with a new designer. I'm really excited about this because I think it's going to allow us to not only get to know each of our designers a little bit more and kind of what their inspiration was when they were making their block design, but also see more of their work and what their style is, and what they have to offer to all of us for inspiration and ideas and other patterns to make. So anyway, I'm excited for this year. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to finding a good balance between work and life and my craft. And I think the planner is the way to get there. So do you have any thoughts for this upcoming year, or
Yeah, I think
big
trying
picture
to find
goals?
more balance. Yeah, more
Yeah.
balance in my life, more time for creativity. And like I was saying earlier, trying to, go back to my roots and doing the thing I love most more, rather than it always being the thing that's at the bottom of the to-do list because it's seen as sort of frivolous and less important than other things. Well, actually, it's really important to do the things that bring you joy, and quilting brings me a lot of joy, and being part of this community brings me a lot of joy. So I need to keep that at the forefront of my life because it's important to me. And I urge everyone to do the same.
Okay. Well,
thank you for
Sarah.
having me.
We had such a great conversation. I am very glad that you joined me today and we were able to talk about all these these changes for this year and what we have coming up. So very exciting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.